How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today, I want to talk to you about why the next couple days will be so crazy for the stock market and the crypto market, and why you should kiss your investments goodbye. Now, I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to go down, but you have really no way of knowing what they're going to do right now. Now, a lot of people will be making bets. I would not be surprised if we saw a lot of volatility throughout the entire week, even before the big events happen, because people are going to be positioning themselves differently with the information that they get leading up until Wednesday and Thursday, and maybe even Friday. So don't just read the title and just automatically comment something below saying that I'm crazy or that I'm spreading FUD, because I'm not necessarily saying that the market's going to go down, but I think it will be very volatile. So you can just kind of put your investments out there, do the best that you can, and then you just have to wait, right? That's why I'm a long-term investor, because I don't know what's going to happen in the short term, but I know over the long term we're going to be fine, which is why I'm dollar cost averaging. Now, I've talked enough about that. I want to talk to you about a lot of important things, talk about some of the top news, and tell you about my wedding, which was just a few days ago. I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but I want to say thank you to everyone that's posted such nice messages in my last video, and a lot of people that used to watch the channel when I was really small. I still know everyone's names, or a lot of people's names in the comments, and posted really nice messages. Everyone's been super nice about it, so thank you for that. If you want to see one picture, I'll only show one here. This is us, my fiance, now wife, and I at the wedding. We were with some friends, but I won't show them. But that's just one photo. Maybe I'll show more at some point in the future, but that's my lovely wife, Megan. Now, if you don't mind hitting the like button and subscribe button for the newlyweds, I appreciate that. There is a link down there to BlockFi. I've talked about them before on the channel. Now they are working with FTX, so I think they are one of the safer companies out there, actually, because they are being helped by FTX right now. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. I totally get it. It's a crazy time in the crypto market, but there is a link down to it underneath the video where you can get some bonuses if you want to try it out. Now, the crazy thing about this market right now is we have CPI here in just a few days. On Wednesday, we have CPI. A lot of people are wondering, are we going to move up? Last month, we actually had it go up in price. We've seen oil start to come down, which is a lot of the reason that we had an increase last month. We went up to 8.6%, but now oil's starting to come down. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens this month. Next month, I think, is really where we'll see the impact of oil falling down. But if we start to fall down, it's going to be really bullish for the markets. If we go up, a lot of people are going to be worried. The other thing that's really important as well is we have a lot of big bank earnings this week. We have JP Morgan Chase, we have Morgan Stanley, we have PNC, US Bancorp, Citi, Wells Fargo, really all the big banks. And this really shows the strength of the consumer, right? First of all, what are they doing with their money? What are their deposits looking like? What are they spending? Where is their money flowing? How are mortgages looking? How's the strength of the home market and that kind of thing? And then we also have just one, I believe it's just one this week, one airline. So it's going to be interesting. Are people still traveling, trying to move and spend money outside of their own cities? And then obviously they'll be purchasing more in those other cities if they're on vacation. How is that working as well? So it's going to be a big week. This kicks off earnings. Then after this, we start getting the tech earnings in the next few weeks as well. And that's really where a lot of the weighting is on the indexes. And obviously, crypto and stocks are very tied these days. We've really just been sitting sideways for a while in the crypto market after we had a lot of capitulation. And some people are still buying. Like, for example, I talked about selling my Cardano a while ago, right? It was still in the 120 range, I believe, when I sold the majority of my Cardano. Now it's at 45 cents. But some sharks are buying. This article talks about how a lot of holders between 10,000 and 100,000 ADA, called sharks, are now buying. They've bought 79.1 million tokens, which sounds like a lot, but now with ADA around where it is now, that's about $30 to $40 million worth. Actually 37.7. And these whales that have 100,000 to 1 million ADA have stopped selling. So some people are accumulating. What's going to happen next, we don't know exactly, but we also have a lot of people calling for this being really the end of the capitulation. We've had such a crazy couple months, starting with Luna, really, I believe that was a start, and then 3 Arrows Capital, Celsius, Voyager now, a lot of other companies just going down. But people are saying, some investors are saying, this is the end of the worst part, the liquidations, which are where a lot of people get freaked out because we see like $2,000 or $3,000 wicks in a few hours. And Lynn Alden, a very famous investor, says the worst of the liquidations is likely over. A lot of leverage that we can't really see as well, because it's not just like people on 20x leverage over on Bybit or some of these other apps. It's not just them. It's people, it's hedge funds that are working with billions of dollars that are being flushed out. It's Luna selling billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Sam Bankman-Fried also says something very similar. He says he thinks the liquidity crisis is over, and he said that FTX is holding a few $1 billion to prop up failing ventures, which is also important. This isn't like them holding a couple $1 billion of liquidity. This isn't them as a company. This is just them holding like some extra cash or some extra assets that they can use to prop up the market, in addition to what they're doing with their own company, which is, I think, a good sign, just showing that if anyone tries to continue to flush out some of this leverage, which I think a lot of it already has been flushed out, Sam Bankman-Fried can come in and scoop up some cheaper assets. And I think a lot of people have gone risk off, even like me. I don't have any leverage, but I've still been moving my assets to safer places that have less upside potential. Like, I'm not trying to go and get a couple extra percent trying to get interest right now. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I've moved it to really safe platforms that have a lot of capital. And I think a lot of other bigger institutions and hedge funds have done something very similar, right? They're trying to get rid of all leverage just in case we do get a nasty wick down to 15, 16, 17,000, right? And then Raoul Pal says something a little bit different. He's talking about how the next 2 to 3 months will reveal a lot. He thinks that we will see recession, but as Stan Druckenmiller says, the job of a macro investor is to buy or sell assets that are mostly mispriced for the next 12 to 18 months. In the next 12 to 18 months, we will have had a recession. Monetary conditions will be much weaker. But just to be clear, I think risk assets probably go lower before reversing, but he's not 100% sure. And there is a risk of an extended recession like in 01, 02, and 08, 09. But he doesn't really see that being the higher odds. He most likely thinks that it's going to be something short. And he's still using these past dates, 1947, 1974, 2018, as his blended hypothesis. So I think what he's really trying to get at, and he didn't exactly spell it out, is I think he thinks short term we will fall down, but in the next 12 to 18 months, I think he does think that we will start to rebound. And he doesn't see this being a long recession. So I've got to think now he's probably getting ready to buy, if not already buying a bit. And he was really risk on, really at the peak, but I'm assuming he kind of switched over pretty quickly once we start to fall down. Now, I don't know exactly what's going to happen going forward, but I can tell you that I'm continuing to dollar cost average because it's so hard to tell what is a fake pump and what's a real pump. And the thing is, right, the last week, I believe we actually had a pretty good market. And the thing is, at least in the stock market, not the crypto market, some people think this is a fake out. But if CPI data comes out pretty solid, right, we start to fall down a bit, and then the next month we fall down as well, the earnings go well, that could turn from a fake pump to a real pump pretty quickly, right? If everything starts to look a little bit better, but we know that we have really hit a recession, or even if the earnings are crappy and it's showing, hey, a lot of companies aren't making what they did a year ago, but we start to have CPI come down, I think that would also be bullish. So we could see some pretty bad earnings, we could see some pretty bad CPI data, but there's no way of knowing when it's going to turn. Now, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. The wedding, I should have said this too. The wedding was fantastic. We had a great time. It was the best wedding I've ever been to, which maybe might not sound like a lot, but I feel like that's pretty much all you can ask for. We had a fantastic time. It was beautiful. And thank you all again for all the nice messages. Next week, we are going to vacation in the Caribbean. If anyone is in St. Lucia, in sandals or at sandals, let me know in the comment section below. We might see you next week. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.